Welcome to Morning Message for July the 31st. There's a street in St. John's, Newfoundland called Sycamore Place. It's a cul-de-sac. When I was a kid, we probably called them dead ends or no exits. But today, fancy people call them cul-de-sacs. Anyway, Sycamore Place has, there's only one exit, the entrance. And at the end of the street, there's sort of a small cliff or a hill that takes you down onto the next road. And there's stairs there. Cars can't make it or anything like that. One day when I was a kid, because I had cousins that lived on Sycamore Place, we were riding bikes. I was visiting from Nova Scotia, so I was on a borrowed bike. We were riding around the neighborhood, and we rode up Sycamore Place, and we got to the end of the road, and everyone got off their bikes and either walk them down the steps or walk them down the hill that was beside the steps. I decided not to get off the bike and to ride it down this hill or cliff. Both the bike and I made it to the bottom of the cliff. However, we didn't make it there together. I fell off the bike, head over handlebars, and for several days afterwards I had fairly bad cuts on my hands and on one of my knees. And other than that, it was my ego that was mainly bruised. But when I think about that, all these years later, I think the remarkable thing for me was that nobody got angry with me. Nobody made fun of me. Nobody showed too much concern for me either. I think people just understood that this was a very embarrassing moment for me. And my other cousins, who were all about my age, I think did the best thing they possibly could and just kind of waited for me to dust myself off and get on the bike and follow them to wherever we happened to be on our way to. Which was really actually very kind of them and very generous and exactly what you would expect of my cousins. One of my other concerns, of course, was for the bike. It wasn't my bike, it was a borrowed bike, and I wanted to make sure that the bike was okay. And as near as anyone could tell at that moment, it was certainly all right. Now, the reason I'm sharing that story with you is because it's a story I'm not going to tell on Sunday. I was considering telling that story and trying to weave it into a message about loving kindness, but I decided not to use that story. So I thought I'd share it with you today. But it is, I think, related to that idea of loving kindness that I shouldn't say even, or even especially, but children are capable of it. Certainly adults should be capable of it too, to assess a situation and to figure out what the best possible course of action is in terms of being a loving presence there. My cousins, I think, showed me a tremendous amount of love and respect by allowing me to pick myself up, dust myself off, maybe go forward a little bit as if those scars on my hands weren't quite as bad or as painful as they looked or as they actually felt, and showed me that kind of loving kindness. It's kind of a group mentality, and in a way, as I think about it all these years later, I feel as though I was lifted up by that whole group as we managed to get on our way to whatever our next adventure happened to be that day. Loving kindness is a tremendously powerful force in the world, and it's perhaps not as widely utilized as we would hope. It can change people's moods. It can change our behavior. It can change the way we interact with people. It can make us feel happier. It can make us feel healthier. It can help heal us. And that's kind of what I'm going to try to get at in Sunday's sermon, is just how important being kind to one another is, and how it really is a divine force that God has blessed us with, so that we can help heal one another and make one another feel happier simply by being kind to one another. That's my hope and prayer for all of us, that we will experience the loving kindness of one another and of God in our lives this day. God bless. Amen.